What's up, guys? Welcome back into the Ballroom Podcast. This is episode 17. I'm your host, Rohan and as always, I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Arav. Arav, what's going on?
I'm good, Rohan. We have a lot of basketball to talk about here. In the conference finals, we're going to be recapping the conference finals and just discussing, talking about what happened recently. It's been a while, so I'm super excited to get into it with you.
Yeah, we got a lot of basketball to catch up on, especially when each game it feels like monumental this time of year. And we're going to be recapping obviously the game fives in the Western Conference, which wrapped up in game five, and then game 6 and 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And that series went the distance. So a lot of basketball to catch up on, a lot of high level stuff, and some intense basketball. But it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, definitely. Should we get straight into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So yeah, like Rohan said, in the Western Conference, the Warriors won this series in 5 games against the Dallas Mavericks. They've won Game 5, 120 to 110. And in this game, it was just an amazing all-around team performance to punch a ticket to their 6th NBA Finals in 8 years, which is crazy. And then with that, they joined the Michael Jordan led Chicago Bulls of the 90s, Magic Johnson's Lakers in the 1980s, and Bill Russell's Celtics in the 50s and 60s as the only franchises to make it to the NBA Finals at least 6 times in an 8-year span, which is crazy. What do you think about that?
Yeah, they're getting up there with the best dynasties of all time, and
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy because like with a core like Steph, Clay, and Draymond, like those aren't the guys that you think are going to be taking over the league for a decade span.
Yeah.
They've been able to do it with just shooting and pretty much revolutionizing the game. And it hasn't been like complete dominance, like physical dominance, like we see with like players like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Bill Russell. These guys are like basically just physically dominating themselves throughout the game, and their teams have been so dominant behind that. But the Warriors are just they play a completely different brand of basketball. They pretty much set the tone for the how basketball is played really in the past 10 years, and it's crazy that they're continuing it, keeping their dynasty going after what we saw the last 2 years.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just to see this team in the finals after everything they've been through, especially this past 2 years with Steph's broken hand, which put him out like 50 games. Clay's 2 injuries, which put him out 2 seasons. And then they also had some other injury. Draymond had some small injuries. They won only 15 games 2 seasons ago. It's just extraordinary to see them back in the finals playing basketball at the highest level at the top of the league and having a chance to win the title again.
I don't think we can. Yeah, I don't think we could brush past kind of what the team was, the state of the team was 2 years ago, when we were
Yeah.
pretty much the worst team in the league,
Yeah.
and we had like a team full of G League players. Like I
Alec
don't think
Burks. Yeah.
Alec Burks, like Glenn Robinson. We had Kai Bowman starting at the point guard.
Kai Bowman.
Eric Pascal was a all rookie first teamer. Now
Mhm.
he's barely getting playing time on the Jazz. Like we had just a bunch. We had Willie Cauley Stein at one point.
Yeah.
He couldn't even stay on the court for more than 5 minutes because he would just get gassed. It was a strange time in the Warriors era. It was crazy to think that just like the past 5 years we had made the finals, and that was the state of our team right after that. So, and then fast forward 2 years, the fact that we're back in the finals with the same nucleus. I mean, you couldn't have really scripted it. It's kind of hard to believe.
Yeah. And in this game 5, it was just a masterclass from the Warriors for the most part. Every Warrior starter put up double figures. Klay Thompson had a monster game. And it's just amazing like I said, amazing to see him like be the key piece um to punch for the Warriors to punch their ticket into the finals. He had 30 after everything he's been through. He had 32 points, 19 in the first half, 8 threes, and it's his 6th straight NBA finals when he plays. It's just amazing to see him back after his 2 gruesome injuries. And then after the game, he gave a quote that was like really moving. He was like, this time last year, I was just starting to jog again and get up and down the court. And now he's just back at playing at the highest level of basketball, back at 110%. And like, he's a key piece to the Warriors, and it's going to help them hopefully achieve their goal of winning a title.
That I mean, it's just so hard to believe. Like he hasn't played basketball really in 2 years, and the fact that he's pretty much back to his all-star self, like he was in our finals runs, like it's unbelievable, and obviously it's super inspirational for what he's done. And now what he's doing now, because he's, yeah, like you said, a huge part of what the Warriors are doing. And um, obviously, without him, we don't know what this team would look like. We were obviously we were really good at the beginning of the year because even without Clay, we had Jordan Poole who was coming into his own. But having Clay is just like, it brings a different dynamic, but also like a different energy to the team rather than just on the court stuff. Like everyone rallies
Yeah.
behind Clay. Like he's a fan favorite. Everyone on the team loves him. Steph loves him. Draymond loves him. It's great to see everyone back because this is who the Warriors are. The Warriors they aren't the same without Clay.
Yeah, for sure. And they also, Andrew Wiggins came up big yet again in game 5. He had 18 points and 10 rebounds. He's also a crucial piece to this team. I feel like they wouldn't be where they are right now without him. Steve Kerr said that as well in one of his interviews. They wouldn't be where they are without Andrew Wiggins. And Draymond Green even had some really good scoring. He had 17 points, 9 assists, and 6 rebounds. Kevon Looney at 10 points, doing what he's been doing these entire playoffs. And Steph Curry had 15 points. And he was named the inaugural Magic Johnson Western Conference MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP. And he deserved it. He averaged 23.8 points per game, 7.4 assists per game, and 6.6 rebounds per game throughout the series against the Mavericks. And going back to like Clay being an amazing teammate when Steph was announced the winner of the MVP award, he just was celebrating like crazy. So it just shows how much of a family the Warriors are, which is why they're so successful.
Exactly. It's that culture of like celebrating each other's success, which is obviously goes a long way, and it's a big reason of that is because they've been playing together for the past 10 years. But going back to Steph winning the Western Conference MVP, I saw a lot of people on Twitter throwing shade at Steph because he only had 15 points and shot 5 of 17 from the field in this one. But yeah, there's no knocking his impact on the
Yeah.
series, and he's especially in the fourth quarters of these playoffs. He's just been lethal. He's won them so many games down the stretch, and obviously had a pretty poor night. But they were having a field day with his poor shooting night and him
No,
winning the
yeah.
MVP.
No, I mean he delivers when it matters. He hit a dagger 3 at the end of this game as well. From the corner.
Yeah,
It was just a
exactly.
catch and shoot. Pass right in the shooting block and just put it up and it went in. It was a dagger, steal the game. And then Jordan Poole was also big off the bench with 16 points. And then Bielitsa and Moses Moody also gave the Warriors some key minutes off the bench. Moody hit that jumper to beat the shot clock buzzer that gave the Warriors some momentum. He also hit that 3 that put them up by I think 18 points, um, which just got everything going. And then Bielitsa was just like his playmaking ability and his hustle on the court was just, although his stats didn't show it, he was a big piece to why the Warriors were successful in this game.
Exactly. They had the others step up for them big time. You mentioned Wiggins earlier. Like he without the Warriors, like I don't know sort of where they'd be in terms of him being able to defend the opposing team's best player. Not even just on the offensive side of the ball, but yeah, he's just been a huge piece for them, and they just needed that wing, presence in order to be that two-way guy who can get him a bucket and also be a defensive anchor and a wing defender, which is huge. But yeah, like you said, there was just so many guys who stepped up. Like even if Steph didn't have a good game, Poole was massive. Obviously Clay did his thing, had 8 threes in this game, and it was just a collective effort. And this is what we've seen from the Warriors throughout the playoffs. It's just next man up. And they're so deep that Steve Kerr has so much to play with in terms of rotations and matchups and stuff like that. So that's what makes the Warriors so dangerous. They have such a deep roster, and they're able to play so well together. Their chemistry is obviously through the charts.
Yeah, exactly. And like we've mentioned on previous episodes, rebounding and dominating the paint has been becoming like a huge part of the Warriors' identity as well. Especially with Kevon Looney. The Warriors won the rebounding contest 51-34. Uh, and hopefully they can bring this same rebounding and paint presence to the finals. And they had 50 points in the paint compared to the Mavericks 32. So hopefully they can just bring that in the finals because that's like a crucial piece to why the Warriors have been so successful. And ball movement as well has always been a big part of that identity throughout their entire dynasty, but also a reason why they turned the ball over so much. In this game, they had 36 assists. So in the finals, if they can just move the ball well while also having a low turnover rate, then they're going to be really hard to beat.
Exactly. I mean, the Warriors, obviously, we know that they're a high turnover team because of their high assist rate and sort of how they run their offense. So they obviously limiting that is going to be a huge factor for them because they're limiting the opposing team's transition points and stuff like that. But I think going back to rebounding too, and Kevon Looney's impact is just you can't mention it enough. He had 18 boards in this one. It was really similar to what he had in Game 6 against the Grizzlies. I think he
Yeah.
had 22 rebounds, 23
Yeah.
rebounds in
22.
that game.
22. Yeah.
22. So just closing out the game with rebounding because once you get stops, I think we mentioned this before. Getting stops is one thing, but getting the rebound is as important. And so the fact that he's able to do that and dominate the paint for the Warriors, who aren't really thought of having like a dominant center, but Looney has been that. He's been huge for them and a big reason why they're this far.
Yeah, for sure. And on the Mavericks side of things, I feel like in this game, they seem kind of lethargic and their defense wasn't really clicking for a lot of this game. But I mean, like throughout this entire, they played amazing throughout this entire series, and especially in game 4. And they just had a great season and successful. I think we can call this season definitely successful as they obviously they knocked out the number 1 seed Suns, which nobody expected would happen. I feel like Mavericks fans, players, and coaches should just be like really proud of this team and what they achieved this season. I think they gave it their all in game 4. They didn't want to get eliminated, obviously, or swept, and I think they were just a little, gassed from game 4, and that's why they seemed kind of lethargic throughout the game.
Yeah, exactly. And they played a real. I mean, I think the series obviously wasn't the best portrayal of how they played this playoffs. Their Sun series was definitely a better showing, but yeah, they just kind of got outmatched by the Warriors in terms of just scheme and stuff like that. But obviously Luka Doncic was just like unbelievable throughout the series and throughout the playoffs. I think the main thing is he really like he had help from Brunson and Dinwiddie, but it just wasn't enough like 1 through 8 in terms of the rotation, in terms of getting the consistent scoring and support that he needed offensively for them to get over the hump. Obviously the Warriors scoring is also a big reason why they weren't able to get over the hump too, just because they weren't able to outscore them. But Luke averaging 32, 9, and 6 throughout the series at 23 years old. Like this is just his first trip to the Western Conference Finals. We know he's going to be here going forward, and
Definitely.
he's just going to keep knocking on the door until he eventually breaks through and makes the finals, like we saw with Jason Tatum. But we'll talk about that after.
Yeah, and he also like almost single-handedly brought the Mavericks back into this game. They were down by 25 at one point. It wasn't just him. I mean, but he did most of it, but it was just like they were down by 25, and I think they cut it to 7 at one point, and he just hit some like crazy step back threes. That one rainbow 3 over Wiggins where he shot like 100 feet, shot the ball like 100 feet in the air, and it just went in.
Yeah,
Um, that was crazy. It just shows, and then when he starts getting going and persevering, then the whole team does. He sets the tone for the whole team, and it just shows how much perseverance he and this team has that they were still trying to win it after being down 25, and they almost did.
yeah, exactly. They didn't show any fight, show any quit. They obviously fought back, especially in Game 4, like we mentioned before. But I think in general, the Mavs kind of ran out of sort of that fire that they had earlier in the playoffs. Obviously, a big reason of that is the Warriors, and when you're losing to a dynasty, there's not really much you can do, or you can't really feel bad about yourselves as well. But I think this offseason is going to be huge for them, just because
Yeah.
they can eat. They'll have a lot of momentum going into next season. They'll obviously need to look at if Jalen Brunson, if they're going to bring him back, it's sort of make him be that sort of second star next to Luka, or they're going to look someplace else for that help. But I think we mentioned it before in one of the previous episodes. They kind of need that wing scorer, that sort of DeMar DeRozan type guy who can sort of get you a bucket and sort of take some of the pressure off of Luka, and sort of is also a bigger body who can defend the wing as well. So they're going to have options in the offseason, obviously, and we'll see how aggressive they are, because obviously their window is this was obviously a bit of an overachievement, because they were obviously the 4 seed this season, but we know how strong the West is going to be next year, with teams like the Clippers and the Nuggets coming back. We're getting key guys who are injured this season, and the window is always really small because you never really know if this nucleus is going to be able to, or these role players are going to be able to stay on the team for much longer. So a lot of guys to look at, especially, but the main guy is obviously Jalen Brunson, because he's a restricted free agent and obviously was their second best player in this playoff run.
Yeah, I also think they should try to maybe get like a more solid big. Because
Definitely.
I think they were just like getting bullied in the paint, especially by the Warriors. And I think if they really want to like win the title, like they can get to the Western Conference Finals every year. Yeah, that's good. But if they want to like actually win the title, then I think they definitely should try to get like a solid and better big.
Yeah, I think one name that was swirling around was one of the guys they eliminated, DeAndre
Ayton. Yeah.
because who's a restricted free agent. So if they do end up going for DeAndre, then the likelihood of getting Brunson is very low, because they'll obviously be allocating most of their money to DeAndre Ayton, and they're both restricted free agents. So they'll have to see their priorities. Can Dinwiddie take over some of the Brunson responsibilities and be that guy that Brunson was? Or do they want to keep that 3 guard lineup with Brunson, Dinwiddie, and Luka? We just have to see where they're willing to allocate their money, and also it's a big commitment going forward because they're both going to be on long-term contracts.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how their offseason pans out and see what moves they make.
Yeah, but I think we know one thing's for certain: they have a generational talent in Luka Doncic.
Yeah, definitely,
they're gonna be a competitive team for
they're gonna be
I don't know
here
for a long time. So as long as they have Luka on their team, everything else will sort itself out. Because once you have that number one guy, your team is in good shape going forward.
Exactly. Yeah, he's something special, and the Mavericks will be back here for many more years to come.
Definitely. It was an entertaining series, though. I mean, we got some good games.
Yeah.
Obviously, not all of them were super competitive. I think we could probably say games 2 and games 5 were probably the most entertaining games of them all. Game 2, obviously, the Mavs almost took that game, and it could have swung the entire series. But game 5 was also pretty entertaining. It was more tense down the stretch in the fourth quarter, but overall the play styles for both teams is what is the most entertaining, just because they're high scoring teams, and they both shoot the ball super well, which is completely different than the Eastern Conference, which we'll get into.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Should we move on to the Eastern Conference now?
I think that's a good segue. Let's look at the Eastern Conference, which that one went the distance.
Yeah, it went the distance for sure.
That one went to Game 7. We can start with Game 5 because that's where we left off on. But Game 5 was just another one of those. We saw a lot of these games with these slaughter games that would just like scoring was hard to come by, to say the least. The Celtics won it in 93-80 to take a 3-2 series lead. And this one was in Miami, so they stole one on the road. It was the 14th time in the last 19 games during these playoffs where the final margin was at least 10 points, which is just crazy. I think that's kind of like what everyone has been saying over especially in this round in the conference finals. But the amount of blowouts has been at an all-time high in these playoffs, and everyone's just begging for there to be close games. Game 5 in the Celtics Heat series was just another one of those blowouts. The Heat, I think the story of the game was mainly about the Heat. They just couldn't get their offense going throughout the game. But I think also throughout the game, neither team really got their offense going. But I think the Celtics found their offense the first in this game. And they obviously had the scores to do it. I think that's what we've been saying the whole series, right? They have the 2 most probably skilled scorers. 2 of the 3 most skilled scorers. Obviously, Jimmy's up there. But Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum with the ability to just get their own shot and just score at will, that can really help you down the stretch, especially when your offense is stalled.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Heat they got off to a decent start. They were even up by 5 going into halftime. I think it was 42-37. But then everything just fell apart in the second half. They lost the third quarter 32-16. And like you said, they just did not get enough scoring from their guys who normally like usually produce. Jimmy Butler had an off game. He's been shut down. He was shut down the previous 2 games. He was also shut down in game 4.
Yeah.
He had
I
only
think
13.
probably the knee injury was a little bit of a factor, but
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, he only had 13 points in this game and shot 4 of 18 from the field. Kyle Lowry was 0 of 6. Um, he was probably also playing on one hamstring. He had 0 points. Max Strus, who's one of the top shooters on the team, he can usually give the team a solid 10 to 15 points a game. He just couldn't buy anything. He went 0 and 9 from the field, 0 of 7 from 3 and only 4 points. Victor Oladipo had 3 points, and they just could not get the ball in the basket. They shot around 32% from the field and 15.6% from 3. They won't even beat the Magic shooting like that.
Yeah, I mean they just they couldn't put the ball in the ocean in this
Yeah.
game. And yeah, not having Tyler Hero is obviously a big loss for them because he's a good 15 to 20 points a game, and it's also like an easy bucket for him because he can go get his own shot, and you don't have to rely on sort of someone else sort of making the play and having to set up the offense. And he can, especially in that second unit when Jimmy's out of the game. It's huge for them, and also when Jimmy's having a complete off game. But yeah, the Celtics obviously stepped up, especially in the second half of this game. Jaylen Brown, especially, was big for them. He had 25 points, and he also had that monster
Yeah,
dunk
that's
that
crazy.
at the end, which completely demoralized the Heat and pretty much iced the game. And then Jason Tatum stuffed the stat sheet in this game. He had 22 points, 12 boards, 9 assists. Al Horford with 16. So they were just able to sort of down the stretch pull away with the victory
Hmm.
when the game was pretty much a sluggish game. No one was really scoring. And that was pretty much the difference of it. Yeah, the Celtics, especially that third quarter, the Celtics outscored the Heat 32-16, which pretty much helped them pull away with the game.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that third quarter I think was the main reason why. Obviously, the Celtics won the game. Big game changer, and obviously the Heat are not going to win like with only 80 points. And although the Celtics only scored 93, I feel like their defense was also a big key. They stifled the Heat, and the Heat just couldn't shoot. And it was just like a sluggish game overall. But in Game 6, we had a much better game. It was a really good basketball game.
Yeah, definitely. Also, Game 5, by the way, the Heat they shot 7 of 45
Yeah,
from
that
three.
that is they're not gonna win. You're not gonna win a game shooting like
How
that.
how do you shoot seven? That's like Houston Rockets level bad
I
shooting
know.
from three. That's 16% from three.
Yeah,
But yeah, moving on, Game 6, like you said, a much better game. This one was like I think probably the most competitive game of the
yeah.
series.
It was a
Maybe
big
even of the
upgrade,
conference
a
finals.
big upgrade from Game 5.
Definitely. And this one was the Jimmy Butler game. Um, I mean, 47 points, 9 boards, eight assists, 4 steals. He had 4 threes in this game. He went 11 of 11 from the line. He was perfect from the free throw line. And it was his fourth 40-point game in these playoffs. And his 47 was a playoff career high. I think from all of us watching, and those of us who've been watching basketball for the past 10 plus years, it was reminiscent of LeBron's 45-point game in
Yeah,
Boston against the Celtics 10 years ago when they were also down 3-2 in the conference finals. It was like
definitely.
pretty much exactly the same in terms of the round and the game and the location of it as well. And the performance was equal. It was just both of these were statement games, legacy games.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And it was just a huge bounce back game after having a combined 19 points in the previous 2 games, which they lost obviously. And he probably only had 19 points due to his knee, like you said before. But his knee obviously looked much more healthy in this one, and his amazing performance, his LeBron-esque performance helped them tie up the series 3-3. He had 17 points in the fourth quarter and just took over down the stretch after the game was tied at 99 apiece with 2 minutes left. He had that massive and one to put them up 3. And then he also off the inbound, that fadeaway jumper that was like his foot was on the line, but it was really deep. It was crazy. It was kind of like that. It was similar to that LeBron shot against the Wizards. Except it
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
it didn't bank in, but it was kind of similar. Reminded me of that. This game kind of just like reminded me of LeBron.
Yeah, I mean, LeBron's was a little different because it was like turnaround and it was like a
Yeah,
full
yeah.
court
It was a
inbound
baseline.
pass.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
was kind of like I don't know, like the I don't know if you know that when the Cavs played the Bulls in Game 4 of 2015, and it was that game winner off the inbound.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
like a
yeah.
fadeaway jumper in
Hmm.
the corner.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
what it was similar to. But nonetheless, like yeah, this game was a LeBron type game, and I think going into this game, I think I was thinking like the Heat needed like literally exactly what the LeBron game 6 against Boston game from Jimmy Butler
exactly.
in order for them to win this game and force a game 7, because I think everyone going into this game was like, okay, the series is over. They threw away game 5 in
Mhm.
Miami. Boston's gonna win this game in Boston and close it out. But
Yeah,
I mean, when Jimmy Butler's playing like this, like, and the fact that he's able to just like turn it on and sort of just become a superstar at will, when he's having really bad games in the past 2 games, like the fact that he only combined for 19 points in the past 2 games, like, and now he's had 47, just unbelievable.
yeah. Like you said about everyone counting them out. Oh, the Celtics are gonna win in 6. Draymond was like after they beat the Mavericks, they're
Draymond.
like, oh, we're playing the Celtics, and Jimmy Butler took that personally and just dropped 47 on the Celtics' head and tied up the series.
I know. Yeah, he definitely took that one to heart. Yeah, Udonis Haslem after the game was like, "Thank you, Draymond.
Hmm.
We needed that." I don't know what Draymond was thinking. He was must have been riding a wave after they just made it to the finals, and he was talking with all the inside guys. Like anything can happen when you're talking with the inside guys. You're put in
Maybe he did
a different.
on purpose to get the Heat going.
That is one conspiracy. Maybe he was trying to play some reverse psychology games. Um, Maybe he wanted to pick his opponent, but no, that didn't work because the Celtics won Game 7 uh, in Boston, uh, and they punched their ticket into the NBA Finals after they won Game 7, 100-96. Um, and Game 7, oh, it was a chaotic one down the stretch.
Yeah.
Celtics almost had a massive meltdown. They were up big most of the game, like double digits. But
Hmm.
then the Heat went on a late 9-0 run to cut the Celtics lead to 2 after Max Strus hit a three
That three
with
was
51
crazy.
seconds
That
left.
was a
I
wild
know.
three.
That was
Yeah.
like
He
he
got to a
rose
spot
up.
though. That's a spot.
Yeah, and he was right up in the defender. He must have elevated like 9 feet. Um,
Yeah.
an insane three, and then they were cut the lead to 2 with 50 seconds left. Like that's what I was like. This game's over in the last like 5 minutes. I was like, why do we need to watch this anymore? And then I kind of had to get up off my seat. I was like, oh wait, what's going on? Are the Celtics really about to blow this game? But Marcus Smart, especially, I was just like baffled by what he was doing late in the game. He almost threw it away. He had 2 back-to-back threes that just clanked. Um,
Yeah.
and then and then he also had that driving layup that was just like heavily contested. There were like 3 guys up on
Yeah.
him.
Didn't even hit the
Um,
rim. I don't
yeah,
think.
he missed 4 jump shots in the last 2 minutes and 50 seconds of this game.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much all of the Celtics shots down the stretch. Um, and then obviously that layup as well. And then off that missed layup, which was with about 20 seconds left, he had a chance to win it with Jimmy's
Or
pull
just
up
or at
three,
least tie it.
or at least tie it. And then he ended up shooting the pull up three to go up and take the lead. He ended up leaving it short. And then the Celtics went on to win it after Marcus Smart got fouled. But what do you think? Should Jimmy have taken that three or gone for a layup and got fouled? There was a lot of controversy over that call.
Definitely gone for the layup and got fouled. I mean, Al Horford was backpedaling. If he could just blown by him, or maybe he could have gotten to the paint easily, and he could have drawn a foul or gotten a layup. I feel like the three was a bad shot. He was just trying to. I don't know. He was feeling it, I guess, and just thought he was gonna make
Yeah,
it. But he's also we have to understand that he's not. He is a decent 3-point shooter. He can make those, but he's not the
yeah,
best 3-point shooter. But
no,
like after game 1. after one of the games, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go 0 for 0 next game. I'm not even gonna shoot threes are not his game." He should have
No.
just. I think Horford was back friendly. He could have blown right by him and scored a layup, or just gone to the paint easily and tried to get fouled.
Yeah, I see that. I think obviously like he wanted to just like make the hero shot down the stretch, especially
Mhm.
because they were making an insane run, and it was that was gonna win them the game if he made that. And it was also wide open, so I can see why he did take it. But then you look back, and the fact that he missed it, he could have just tied it. But if he did make it, oh my god,
Yeah,
that would have
obviously
been,
that we wouldn't have even talking about, oh, should he gone?
dude, that would
Should
have
he
been
blown by Horford? Yeah, obviously he should have
exactly.
taken the
So
three if he made it. But
in hindsight, we can say because he missed it, oh, he should have drove. But I think when he pulled up in real time, I was like, this is the right move because the crowd was going crazy. And I felt like he was gonna make it. I don't know why.
I'm
I
gonna
just
be
had the
honest, I didn't think he was gonna make it.
I didn't think it was a bad shot because I felt like he was stepping into it and it was like he had the momentum going forward, so like it was a bit easier as well. Um, I don't know. The Horford was like backing up on his heels. He
Yeah,
probably
I
could
think he
have
was
beat him for the
rushed.
basket.
I
He
think
was
he was
rushed, but
rushed.
also it was like Jimmy played 48 minutes at
Yeah,
that point.
he played
Like I
double
feel like he
figures.
was
Yeah,
probably like, I can't do it overtime. So either we're winning it here or we're going home. He was probably like, either we're going to San Francisco or I'm booking my tickets to Cancun. I don't think there was anything in between at that point.
yeah, that's understandable. I mean, yeah, for the Celtics finally broke through after being in the conference finals and losing in the conference finals for the last 6 years. Um, And then Jason Tatum, he won the inaugural Larry Bird Eastern Conference Finals MVP trophy. He averaged 25 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists in the series. He led the Celtics with 26 points in this game. He had 10 rebounds and 6 assists as well. And then that shot off the inbound, close to the end of the game, that was just a pure swish, just gave them a
Yeah.
huge boost and kind of was just a crucial shot for them. It put them up like 9 or 11, I think, and it was just um it kind of like demoralized the Heat a little. Obviously, the Heat still went on their 9-0 run, but like
Yeah.
if he didn't make that shot, the Heat could have taken the lead after the 9-0 run or tied the game.
Yeah. That was with 428 left. It put him up 10. He also
Mhm.
had that insane step back three
Oh
that
yeah,
was
yeah,
heavily contested with about 6 minutes left, which put them up 12. Like that one was just, like the shot clock running down,
yeah. That was
step
crazy.
back to his left. Like that was crazy. And that was like a massive shot. That pretty much iced it there, although they obviously almost threw it. But um, he was just making big shot after big shot in the fourth quarter and throughout this game. And obviously,
Mhm.
Jalen Brown and Marcus Smart both being just unbelievable. Both added 24 for the Celtics in this game. And the trio of Tatum, Brown, and Smart accounted for 74 of their 100 points, which is unreal. They're just, the three of them play so well together. And they're all able to score at such high levels, and, especially in these games when they're barely even cracking 100 points. And um, it's just, they're just an unbelievable trio. There's a reason they're in the finals.
Yeah, definitely. And also Al Horford was huge for the Celtics throughout the whole series, mainly defensively on guarding the paint and locking up Bam Adebayo. And it's great to see him finally making the finals for the first time after having the most playoff games played without a finals appearance, which is 141 games. He also congrats to him. He gained a $5 million bonus for making the finals. So yeah, he made some extra bank too. So
Yeah,
congrats to Al Horford. He was huge this series. He definitely deserves this.
yeah, definitely. He's obviously a huge part for them, and bringing him back to the team this season for Kemba Walker was such an underrated move. Like when it happened, like no one really thought much of it. We all thought it was more of like a salary dump, or the general fan thought it was more of a salary dump with Kemba Walker. But he's been one of their best players throughout this run, and we don't know where this team would be without him because the way he's able to lock down the paint, get rebounds, get blocks, but also score. Like he had that 30-point game in the Bucks series.
Yeah.
And like the fact that he's still doing this at age 35, and being an integral part of this championship run. Like I don't think any of us saw this last year or the year before when he was just pretty much not really playing meaningful basketball.
hmm Yeah, and it's also great to see the Celtics complete their Eastern Conference revenge tour. They've now in this postseason, they've now defeated Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and Miami, which were the three teams that eliminated them in the past three playoffs. Milwaukee, obviously in the 2019 Eastern Conference semifinals, Miami, obviously in the 2020 Eastern Conference Finals, and Brooklyn in 2020 in the first round. And then Jason Tatum, after the post after in the post game interview, said the road we took to get here, not a lot of people believed in us. We took the toughest route. It looked out. So yeah, it's great to see them make it out the East. After having to face probably the three toughest teams. Yeah.
Yeah, like yeah, down like especially late in the series, like late in the season, when everyone was pretty much clustered at the top of the Eastern Conference, and the Nets were pretty much a lock at the 7th seed. They were in the play-in tournament, but we kind of knew they were going to be the 7th seed. But the Celtics, who were tied with the Bucks at the time, they didn't duck the Nets. When the last day of the season, the Bucks sat there pretty much everyone, and they intentionally threw the game to be the 3 seed, but the Celtics ended up playing everyone, and they secured the 2 seed. And yeah, they took care of the Nets like routine business, which was just a statement series win. And then they also beat the Bucks in 7, and the fact that they're able to complete the run with beating the number 1 seed Heat in 7, who are a tough out, like they really are putting everyone on notice. And obviously this is such a big run for them because they've been building towards this for so long. And the fact they're able to do it to pretty much the same nucleus that we've seen in the past couple playoff runs. And also like pretty much majority of their rotation is drafted guys. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown,
Yeah.
Grant
It's
Williams,
built, not bought.
Pritchard,
Yeah.
Marcus Smart, like pretty much like 80% of their rotation is just built, like you said.
Yeah. Also, looking back to earlier this season, it's the Celtics were 25-25 through their first 50 games, and now they're in the NBA Finals after ending the season 26-6, which is crazy. No team that has been that bad through 50 games has had this kind of in-season turnaround and made to the finals since the 81-82 Houston Rockets, who started 22-28 and made it to the finals that year. So that's crazy. And just shout out to the Celtics. Shout out to Ime Udoka for turning the team around, leading them to be 26-6 in their final 32 games.
Yeah, this team it's nothing short of insane, sort of what this team has done in the second half of the season. They've been the most dominant team in the second half of the season. And the fact they're able to pull out back-to-back game 7s in the conference semifinals and the conference finals, like they definitely deserve to be in the finals. And this is an exciting team to watch, and they're definitely going to set up a really good finals with the Warriors. But for the Heat, I think, down the stretch in this game, but also like a lot of these games, especially games 4 and 5, when they were barely able to crack 80 points, like they just ran out of offense in the series. Like they couldn't find any consistent scoring outside of Jimmy, who was just sensational, not only in this game, but all playoffs. And he played all 48 minutes in this game. He ended with 35 points and 9 boards to keep them in it throughout the game, because they could have just drowned out. They were down by 14, 15 early in the first half. They clawed their way back with Jimmy in the first half to be down 6 at halftime. He had 24 points in the first half. And he willed them to victory in game 6 as well, and almost won them the game down the stretch with his 3 that just came up short. And so, I mean, he was just an integral part of this run. And he had to have run out of gas, especially in that fourth quarter. He only had 4 points, and he wasn't really as aggressive as he was, just because of, how much he had to do throughout this game and also the past couple games.
Yeah, he definitely was really tired. In the past 2 games, he played 94 of the 96 minutes and scored a combined 82 points, which is just, it shows how much grit he has, how much he wants to win. Which is just MVP level stuff, proving everyone once again that he is that guy, especially in the playoffs.
Exactly. And outside of Jimmy, like he really he didn't get the help that he needed in order for them to win the series. Outside of Jimmy, Bam was the only one that showed up for this game offensively. He had 25 points and 11 boards in this game, but everyone else just had poor shooting nights. Like Lowry, he added 15, but he shot 4 of 12 and 1 of 6 from three. Oladipo had only 9 points, shot 4 of 12 and 1 of 7 from three. Max Strus had just 8 points on 3 of 10 from the field and 2 of 7 from three. So they just really couldn't get buckets from people consistently, and especially down the stretch. And they didn't have a guy who could give Jimmy some rest. And we know who that guy is. That's Tyler Hero. And obviously he was hurt throughout this series. And a big reason why they weren't able to pull out the series is because of his absence, because he's a good 15 to 20 points, like we said. That is just, and also a good amount of rest for Jimmy, because he's always having to produce offensively for them.
Yeah, and we did have these questions going into the playoffs, and especially this series for the Heat. I remember like regarding their scoring, and their ability to score outside of Jimmy and also Bam at in some games. We definitely talked about it with Hari in the conference finals preview, where we don't know if their scoring can match the elite scoring of Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown, and also Marcus Smart too. And that like it ended up like they we didn't know if they could produce enough offensively, and they ended up falling short because they just simply couldn't produce enough offensively, and Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown were too much for them.
Definitely. And I think also, like, not more than offensively, like defensively, we thought going into the playoffs, like, oh, this team is, their defense is built for the playoffs. They're going to be able to pretty much stifle anyone defensively, and they're going to be able to win games with that. But I think the way Boston was able to match them defensively, like they didn't really have much of an edge on that side of the ball. And what it really came down to is, since no one was really able to score, because both defenses were so elite this series. It was who can just squeeze out those last couple buckets down the stretch in order to get them the victory. And that's what Boston was able to do. And that's why they were able to pull out the series. A big reason, obviously, Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. And if the Heat had Tyler Hero, it could have gone a different direction because of how prolific of scorer he is. Not having him really hurt them, but nonetheless, I think the Heat made a valiant effort, especially being down a lot of this game. Like they clawed their way back, and throughout the series, they kept it competitive even when people counted them out after Game 5. They pushed it to a Game 7, but they just fell short.
Yeah, I think it definitely was a valiant effort for them. They put in an amazing game in Game 6, and I think it was, although they were the 1 seed and expected to go to the finals, I think they had a successful season, considering their injuries in this series with Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler's knee, Kyle Lowry's hamstring, and they still pushed the Celtics to 7 games, which shows how strong and dangerous of a team they actually are. And I think for a lot of years to come, they'll be back in this at this stage.
Definitely. I mean, obviously, this team was built to win the championship like this year. I think everyone kind of saw that what they did last offseason with getting Kyle Lowry and getting PJ Tucker. Like, those are two champions in the past couple of years. And this team was, after making their finals run 2 years ago, was geared up to make another finals run here. And the fact that they just fell short was obviously it's definitely a gut punch to them, because they're ready to win it now. They're not really building to the future like teams like the Mavericks are. Like, because guys like PJ Tucker and Kyle Lowry aren't getting any younger,
Yeah.
and they're not getting any healthier as well.
Mhm.
So the more they keep playing, the more mileage on their bodies. It's gonna be tough for them to keep this nucleus intact going forward. But I think the good thing that's going for them is the way they're able to develop their role players and the surrounding guys. Like, just they don't need to buy them on the market or free agency, but guys like Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, all undrafted guys. Only issue is they're going to have to now, pay these guys eventually. And that can get them into deep in the luxury tax. So either they're going to have to pay these guys and sort of go all in terms of paying in the luxury tax, or sort of find replacements for these guys. Because we know how good they are in terms of finding talent and developing them. But it's either they pay Max Strus and get him long term, or find someone else, especially a guy like Duncan Robinson too, who's under contract, who signed a $90 million contract. and didn't really play at all in these playoffs. So they'll look to see if they can sort of make some cap flexibility there in terms of moving his contract. So a lot of stuff they can look at this offseason, but they have sort of the main pieces there. We know Jimmy's that guy. We know Bam is a solid piece for them. So we'll see what they do going forward. But they made a great run this season, definitely.
Yeah, it definitely was an amazing run for the Heat this season, and for the Celtics, I mean, it's just they gotta just keep playing how they did in the conference finals, in the NBA finals against the Warriors, because obviously the Warriors are a different animal. They're an even different animal than the Heat are. So the Celtics are gonna need to bring their A game on both sides of the court, offensively and defensively. Brown and Tatum are gonna need to put up numbers, and defensively they're gonna have to be aggressive, stifle guys like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Poole, Wiggins, all those guys.
Yeah, exactly. We'll do a more in-depth finals preview in a future episode in the next couple of days, but that pretty much does it in terms of us recapping the conference finals. Obviously a lot of intense and emotional and dramatic basketball, like it usually is at this time of year in the playoffs, but that's kind of what we live for, and that's what we sort of build towards in the regular season. And this is kind of what we get, and it's been some great basketball, but hopefully we can keep it going in the finals.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys when we preview the NBA finals. It's the finals, man. It's exciting. It's one of the best times of the year.
We're here,
the
but
Warriors
it's also,
are back.
The Warriors are back, but it's a sad reminder that the NBA
season is ending. Yeah,
it's ending. But
it definitely is
hopefully we get a really good series to sort of close it out in a good fashion. And we got some really good teams going at it, but we'll save it for the finals preview. But thank you guys for joining in this one, and tune in for the finals preview in a couple of days.
Yeah, thank you guys. See you.